Hey everyone, it's Mr. Lentz coming to you again through the power of the internet. Today I wanted to talk to you about the process papers for NHD. So the process paper is what's called written material that's required for every product for the NHD competition. And basically the role of the process paper is to catch the judges up on all the work that you've done. The first time the judges meet you and see your product is when all the work is finished. Um, so the process paper will explain to them how you picked your topic, how you tied it to this year's National History Day theme, what process you went through to research your topic and create your historical argument. And it will also explain why you chose to make the product that you did and the process that you went through to make that. So the process paper can be delineated or detailed, laid out for you in the rule book. So if you don't know where to find the rule book, it's posted on Google Classroom. But also, if you go to nhd.org and under the For Students tab, you go to project categories. No matter which project you select, if you scroll down to the bottom, the contest rulebook will be hyperlinked. And you can see the contest rulebook, the rules and information about the process paper are located in the rules for all categories section, specifically the written material pages, which can be found on pages 18 and 19 of the rule book. So you can see in the rule book it will go over how to set up your title page, what questions your process paper needs to address, so on and so forth. So you can use your rule book. But one thing that Mr. Morrell and I have done for you guys is we've kind of delineated it down into a checklist for you, basically a rubric. Um, so if you'd rather use this as like a quick cheat sheet, it's more digestible, it's easier to understand, feel free to use that too. And this will be attached to the process paper assignment. But I wanted to spend this video looking at an exemplary process paper and kind of explain it to you. But first, let's look at the different parts of this process paper. So the first part of the process paper you need is your title page. Um, and then actually once you get into the body of your paper, you can see here according to the rule book that the process paper can only be 500 words. It can't be more. It can be less, but it can't be any more than that. And it shouldn't include any quotes, images, or captions. So in other words, this is all student original work. Um, and the types of questions that you answer in your process paper are things like, how did you pick your topic? How does it relate to the theme? What was your research process like? How did you conduct research? Why did you select the project that you selected and how did you make it? What's your thesis? What's your historical argument? And why is your topic important in history? What makes it significant? So you have to do all of that in less than 500 words. And it's actually very easy. A 500 word paper is typically going to be about a page and a half long. And the title page does not count toward your 500. Okay, so let's look at a perfect example. This is a process paper that I stole from some students when I was judging a few years ago. I thought it was a perfect example of a process paper. And these two girls did their NHD topic on Nellie Bly, who was a female investigative reporter. She was a journalist, and she's famous for um, faking mental illness. So um, she'd be admitted into a mental institution. That way she could report back on the mistreatment and the malpractice going on there. So this is their title page. And you can see it's laid out in a very particular way. So they have the title, okay? Notice that the title includes elements of the theme. So that year's theme was exploration, encounter, and exchange in history. So I really like that they've tied their topic into that year's National History Day theme. Now this was a group project, so there's two student names here, and then they listed their division and category. So the category is basically just what are you making? Are you doing a performance? Are you doing a documentary? Are you writing a paper? And your division is the group competition that you're in. So, are you a junior or a senior? Well, you guys are middle school, so you're going to be junior, okay? And obviously, these girls are did a group performance here. If you're working alone, you would say junior individual documentary or individual website, whatever your category is. And then they have a word count for their process paper. Obviously, they don't have a word count for their performance because that's not a requirement. But your process paper would also, like if you're doing an exhibit or a website, you would also include the word counts pertinent for those categories on your title page. So basically, you've got title, you've got student names, category and division, and word counts. And again, you can look at the rule book and you can see examples uh, of title pages for different categories. Okay, so let's get into the next parts of their paper. So basically, what they've done, these two girls, is they've written several paragraphs. You can see it's about a page and a half long, um, and each paragraph basically addresses the questions that that you need to address in your process paper. So if we look at the first paragraph, our topic for Natural History Day is Nellie Bly. We came across her story while researching possible topics. As two adventurous girls who intend to go into some part of the writing creative industry, the story of Nellie Bly was very intriguing to us. So basically, this paragraph explains why they picked the topic that they did. And something that judges really liked is to see that there's a personal connection. That's why at the beginning of the year, when we were picking our NHD topics, your teachers really stressed to you the importance of liking the topic that you were researching. So if you can, try to fit in a personal connection here or there. Now, the next paragraph, I'm not going to read to you explicitly, but it's usually the longest part of the process paper, and this is the research process and it makes sense that this is the longest part of the paper because the research process is typically the longest part of the NHD process. So basically, what they talk about here is how do they start their research? Um, what kind of questions do they generate? Where do they look to answer those questions? How do they transition from using secondary sources to primary sources? What kind of perspectives were they trying to establish? Whose viewpoints did they need to show? Did they take any special field trips? Did they go to any locations or libraries or archives to research their topic? Something that I also think that they did really well is they actually named some of the sources that they used in their product. So obviously these were very, very helpful sources. So that's something I recommend you do. Obviously, we didn't take any field trips this year because of COVID-19. But we did go through a research process. We walked you through looking at tertiary sources like encyclopedias first, and then you developed an understanding of your topic, and you came up with a statement of control and purpose. And from that, you developed research terms. And from those terms, you developed research questions. All right. So we went through a research process. So you really need to think about the steps that you took. And this is an opportunity for you to address roadblocks that you encountered in your research, so on and so forth. Okay. Um, And you can see here, note that the students identify the significance of their sources, why their sources were helpful. Did they present different perspectives? Did they provide primary sources? Things like that. Okay, into the next paragraph, they start to explain their product, why they picked it, and what work they put in to actually develop it and make it. So basically, remember these girls did a group performance. So in this paragraph, and you can see it's fairly short. They explain why they picked a performance. They basically talk about how the topic could easily be shown through a performance, and that they both have acting experience. So there's another personal connection there. Um, so something that you could do if those of you are making an exhibit or a website or a documentary, you could say that through your research you found a lot of visual aids, and you felt that an exhibit or a documentary or a website would be the category that would help you kind of show off the things that you found throughout your research. Okay, and then in their last paragraph, they kind of talk about the topic's relationship to the theme. So you can knock out several of your questions here in just one paragraph, like relation to the theme, historical argument, and topic significance in history. Because if you think of your thesis statements, that 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 your thesis statements do all three of those things, right? We made you address the theme in your thesis. We made you create some kind of argument that signifies or shows the historical significance, the historical importance of your NHD topic. So now, obviously, they're not just explicitly writing their thesis here, but they're explaining um, how they believe Nellie Bly related to that year's theme of exploration, encounter, and exchange, and then they talk about her significance, and then you could segue into their argument. What's the thing that your topic, that your product, excuse me, is presenting? Now, obviously, I'll have this posted on Google Classroom for you guys to look at and read through more thoroughly, since I didn't explicitly read it to you. But please pay attention to the close reading, the markups that we've made. That way, you guys can see what kind of elements you can also include in your process paper. This is actually a very easy paper to write. It's very formulaic. And if you kind of just treat it like a checkbox, and especially if you use this checklist, it's something that can be done very quickly, um, and is a crucial element for your NHD products. So again, we're going to look at the exemplar from Abigail and Cecilia. We're going to use the checklist as we write. And as always, we're going to reference the NHD rulebook as we're developing our products. Feel free to give this video another view if you need some help or you need a refresher. And as always, feel free to email your teachers if you need anything to be clarified. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.